Retina coating accepted, Warden William Smithers. Be well.
I realized that Taco Bell was the only restaurant to survive the franchise wars.
So?
So, now all restaurants are Taco Bell.
No way.
The 1993 film Demolition Man wasn't merely an action spectacle. It was a prediction wrapped in day-glow satire. Yet beneath the icy sleep and urban chaos lay strange facts about its creation. A shocking lawsuit, a throwaway line that mapped a star's career, and jokes that matured into ominous warnings. These are 20 bizarre facts about the movie, hidden deep within the rubble and the high-tech towers. Fact number 1. The original dream match that never happened. Before Stallone and Snipes ever stepped onto the set, Warner Brothers had a completely different vision. Jean-Claude Van Damme versus Steven Seagal. The ultimate martial arts showdown of the early 90s. Can you imagine? But both stars absolutely refused because neither would agree to play the villain. Each wanted to be the hero, and the studio couldn't convince either one to switch sides. So Stallone stepped in, seeing this as an opportunity to lead a futuristic cop thriller. But Sly had his own ideas. He immediately campaigned hard for Jackie Chan to play Simon Phoenix. Chan was actually interested and loved the script, but his Chinese fanbase hated the idea of their beloved hero playing an evil character. The backlash was so intense that Chan had no choice but to decline. That's how Wesley Snipes got the role that would become one of the most iconic villains of the 90s. Snipes didn't just play Simon Phoenix, he embodied him with flamboyant insanity, manic energy, and pure chaotic joy. He despised the bleached blonde look so much that he shaved his head the moment filming ended. But that performance? Pure cinematic gold. An absolute engine of destruction. Fact number 2. Sandra Bullock's accidental big break. The role of Lenina Huxley, the wide-eyed, enthusiastic future cop, was originally given to Lori Petty from Point Break and Tank Girl. Petty was cast, she showed up, started filming, and then lasted exactly 2 days before creative differences ended her run. The production was in panic mode. They desperately needed someone who could balance Stallone's serious intensity and Snipes' completely unhinged energy with genuine warmth and comic timing. Enter Sandra Bullock, a relatively unknown actress at the time with just a few small credits to her name. Her charm instantly redefined the character, making Huxley the film's unexpected emotional heart. She wasn't just comic relief. She was the bridge between the cynical past and the sanitized future. Just months later, Bullock would star in Speed, becoming a massive superstar overnight. This last-minute casting didn't just save a role, it launched one of Hollywood's biggest careers. Fact number 3. The brutal Sly schedule. 1993 was absolutely insane for Stallone. Production on Demolition Man and Cliffhanger overlapped significantly, and I mean seriously overlapped. There are stories of Stallone doing press interviews about scaling icy mountains and death-defying stunts while still wearing John Spartan's futuristic SAPD uniform. One day, you're hanging off a cliff face thousands of feet in the air. The next day, you're frozen in cryosleep fighting a bleached blonde maniac in 2032. The schedule was brutal. Non-stop flights between locations and back-to-back call sheets. But within a single year, he anchored 2 major blockbusters simultaneously, proving he was still one of Hollywood's ultimate action stars. Fact number 4. Snipes was literally too fast for the camera. Here's something wild. Wesley Snipes had to deliberately slow himself down. Years of martial arts training meant his kicks and punches were so lightning quick they registered as blurry smears on film. The fight coordinators were pulling their hair out. The solution? Snipes had to pull his strikes to about half speed just so audiences could actually see the action. Can you imagine being so skilled, you have to intentionally perform worse for the camera? Even at half speed, his fluid movement gave Simon Phoenix a ferocious, unpredictable edge. Fact number 5. The daughter subplot that vanished. Early scripts included a huge emotional subplot. John Spartan's daughter had survived the cryo-sleep years, grown up, and joined the underground resistance in the wasteland. Spartan was meant to reunite with his now-adult daughter during those sequences. Can you imagine? After waking up decades in the future, believing everyone he loved was gone, discovering his daughter is alive and fighting the system? That's heavy emotional material for an action film. They actually filmed some of this. She appears briefly as an extra in certain cuts. a ghost of the storyline that was meant to be so much more. But when they showed it to test audiences, the feedback was clear. The emotional subplot slowed the action too much. Audiences wanted explosions and one-liners, not father-daughter reunion tears. So the editors cut it completely. Sometimes less is more, even when it means losing compelling character development. Fact number 6. The international lawsuit that almost happened. This is where things get legally murky and really interesting. Back in the mid-1980s, a Hungarian author named István Németh published a sci-fi novel called Fight of the Dead. The premise? 2 enemies are frozen and then revived in a pacifist future where violence is completely outlawed. Sound familiar? When Demolition Man premiered in theaters, Németh was watching it in Hungary, and his jaw must have hit the floor. The similarities were striking, almost too striking to be coincidental. He immediately went public, claiming that Hollywood had stolen his concept. He was convinced that someone at Warner Brothers had read his novel and just borrowed the entire premise without any credit or compensation. But here's the sad reality of international copyright law in the early 90s. Németh simply didn't have the resources to fight a major Hollywood studio. Warner Brothers had armies of lawyers and unlimited legal budgets. Németh was a Hungarian science fiction author without the means to pursue an international lawsuit. The case died before it ever reached a courtroom, leaving the film's premise with a curious disputed footnote in sci-fi history. Was it genuine theft or just parallel thinking? We may never know for sure. Fact number 7. Joel Silver traded subtlety for explosions. Early drafts envisioned a darkly comic social satire with clever commentary. Then producer Joel Silver, known for Die Hard and Lethal Weapon, got involved. Silver had zero interest in subtlety. He demanded constant momentum, bigger explosions, and endless outrageous set pieces. The satire remained, but packaged inside a non-stop thrill ride. For Silver, energy always trumped nuance. And honestly, it worked perfectly. Fact number 8. The future city was just Orange County. The gleaming city of San Angeles? It's just Irvine, California. Budget cuts forced them away from San Diego and San Francisco. But here's the genius part. Irvine's 1970s and 80s architecture, stark glass offices and sterile corporate campuses, already looked futuristic. They barely had to dress anything. Sometimes Orange County is already living in the future. Fact number 9. The cars were irreplaceable prototypes. Those sleek vehicles weren't movie props. They were real prototypes loaned by General Motors. The star car was the GM Ultralight, so rare that only one fully functional version existed. GM built non-driving fiberglass shells just to fill background shots. These became the most expensive, carefully guarded rentals in Hollywood history. Fact number 10. Taco Bell versus Pizza Hut, the global menu war. In the US, Taco Bell is the sole survivor of the franchise wars. But internationally, it's Pizza Hut. Distributors worried overseas audiences wouldn't recognize Taco Bell, so they swapped it. The genius part? Both were owned by PepsiCo, making the swap legal. But they had to film 2 completely separate sets of insert shots. Every logo, every mention, shot twice. This created 2 parallel versions of the film's fast food future, and most viewers had no idea the other version existed. Fact number 11. The theme song is a remake of a remake. That heavy theme song, Demolition Man by Sting. It wasn't written for the movie. Sting originally recorded it with The Police in 1981, then Grace Jones covered it in 1982. Warner Brothers brought Sting back to re-record his own song as a slower, heavier solo version for the film. It gave this futuristic satire a direct anchor to the New Wave era. Fact number 12. Rambo the Destroyer in Kuwait. When the film premiered in Kuwait, distributors believed Stallone's Rambo brand had more marketing power than the actual title. So they rebranded it Rambo the Destroyer. Imagine expecting jungle warfare and getting cryosleep and 3 seashells instead. Fact number 13. The Sandra Bullock career foreshadowing. This borders on supernatural. During a police station scene, there's a tiny model bus in the background. 1 year later, Bullock became a star in Speed, a movie about a bus. Later, she won an Oscar for The Blind Side, playing the wife of a man who built his fortune running Taco Bell franchises. The sole survivor restaurant in this film, Bus, Taco Bell. Both connected to Bullock's biggest career moments, both present in this one film. It's like Demolition Man mapped her entire career. Fact number 14. The R-rated toy line that shouldn't exist. Demolition Man was rated R, blood, violence, profanity. So naturally, Mattel released a full toy line as if it were a kid's cartoon. The best part? Many figures were recycled molds from the He-Man line with futuristic paint slapped on. A satire of consumerism literally turned into children's merchandise. Peak 90s irony. Fact number 15. The chaotic multimedia franchise. DC Comics released a 4-issue miniseries, and video games came out for SNES and Genesis. Critics panned the games for confusing gameplay that randomly shifted between side-scrolling shooter and overhead maze levels. Still, if you were a kid in 1993, you probably rented it once. Fact number 16. The Three Seashells Mystery. For 30 years, fans have obsessed over the three seashells. How do they work? Screenwriter Daniel Waters finally revealed the truth. He got the idea from a friend who kept decorative seashells in his bathroom. Waters thought, what if in the future, people think these are functional? So he tossed it in as a gag. There was never a real answer, but that ambiguity turned a throwaway joke into one of sci-fi cinema's most enduring riddles. Sometimes the best mysteries are the ones never meant to be solved. Fact number 17. Stallone's offset obsession. While battling cryo-criminals by day, Stallone developed a complete obsession with golf by night. He had a private driving range built near the set and kept a professional instructor on call. Sandra Bullock recalled that instead of running lines, Stallone would invite co-stars to whack golf balls under the stars until early morning. Fact number 18. When satire became prophecy. In 1993, the film's vision seemed absurd. Fines for swearing, fast food monopolies, extreme political correctness, goofy futurism, the critics said. 30 years later, audiences noticed something unsettling. City ordinances finding quality of life violations. Corporate monopolies controlling entire sectors. Constant social policing online and offline. The satire dismissed as over-the-top now reads as uncannily accurate prophecy. The film didn't just predict technology, it predicted our cultural evolution. Fact number 19. The Schwarzenegger presidential joke. One of the funniest lines is when Huxley mentions the Schwarzenegger Presidential Library. In 1993, the idea of Arnold becoming president was obviously absurd. Just a joke about celebrity politics. Less than a decade later, Schwarzenegger was elected governor of California. Suddenly that joke wasn't funny anymore. It was eerily prophetic. The film accidentally predicted the actual trajectory of American politics. Fact number 20. The cult classic reevaluation. When it debuted, critics called Demolition Man noise and idiotic. But audiences recognized the sharp parody of censorship, corporate control, and over-sanitized society. Over time, as the world it mocked crept closer to reality, the film grew sharper. It evolved from a simple action flick into one of the most unsettlingly accurate sci-fi cult classics of the 90s. Sometimes the best satire isn't recognized until it becomes reality. So there you have it. 20 bizarre facts proving Demolition Man was so much more than meets the eye. From casting battles and international lawsuits to three seashells and uncanny prophecies, it's a movie that keeps giving the more you dig into it. What started as a simple action thriller became this weird cultural artifact that somehow predicted our future while also being incredibly entertaining. Oh, and here's your bonus fact. Remember how Wesley Snipes absolutely hated his bleached blonde hair and shaved it off immediately after filming Wrapped? Well, NBA bad boy Dennis Rodman saw Simon Phoenix's look and absolutely loved it. He copied the style and launched his own signature streak of ever-changing neon hairstyles that became iconic in basketball culture. So in a weird way, Simon Phoenix directly influenced basketball fashion. Who knew a sci-fi villain would inspire one of the most flamboyant athletes of the 90s? What other 90s action films do you think accidentally predicted our modern world? Total Recall, The Matrix. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into one of the most underrated sci-fi satires ever made, hit that like button and subscribe for more bizarre movie facts and behind-the-scenes stories. Now, if you'll excuse me, I still need to figure out how these three seashells actually work. Seriously, has anyone cracked this yet? Be well.